Hey everybody, welcome back
We are
to the cabin,
we're live.
and I gotta plug my headphones in so I can hear.
There you go.
That's always good.
Okay, do some sharing.
How you doing tonight, Danny?
I am doing summerific.
Summerific. Is that a word or is that a Dannyism?
That's a Dannyism because it's actually a nice day in summer,
Ah, okay. You say so.
right?
Okay, do a little sharing here, then we'll
Right.
get on with tonight's show here real quick. While I'm here, let me do this. I'm going to publish our question of the evening. Do you have any outdoor activities planned for the 4th of July?
There you go.
Yes, no, not sure. So,
Get our groups here.
you guys can comment on that if you'd like. And let me
Two
see.
more to go.
I want to take this in a different direction tonight, I think.
Do you?
Well, the way I do this.
I wish I could do multiples. Maybe there's a way to do that.
There's got to be at some point. So, let's see here. Getting close. There we
Yep,
go.
close.
And
One more to go.
share. All
I
right.
should be ready.
You ready?
Almost. Almost ready. Almost. That one. Yep, they're there.
You let me know when you're ready.
I will.
Hey, Charles, what's going on? Charles has been out doing some fishing in Iowa, I've seen here on Facebook this week. At night.
Has he been? Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, he's been talking with Ken Cicluna quite a bit.
Oh.
Dave Hamity, what's going on?
Getting the old tips and tricks from the sandbagging fish master.
Yeah, or as they say, he's been getting the juice. That's what Ken calls it, getting the juice. So
All right.
I guess that's what fishermen call it.
I don't know what they call it.
So you ready?
Yep. I'm ready.
You ready? Okay, here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal podcast and live stream here on Facebook. Sitting in a comfortable cabin tonight.
Yes.
Got
Finally.
the air on. Got
Do you?
Hear it running?
Okay.
Feel it running?
Guess I haven't paid attention.
It's nice and cool in here tonight. Unlike the last couple weeks.
Here we are, second day into summer. Third day.
Yeah.
Friday,
Summer
Saturday,
finally decided to show up.
Well, rain tomorrow, so we'll just go back right into the rain
Right.
factor. So, but yeah, it's summer's here. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but there's still a lot of water in the ground.
There's a ton of water in the ground. A ton.
Because I know my sump pump is it's humming.
Well, I still have problems getting into the backyard and doing some mowing. So that's been an issue. So we're still dealing with that.
And I lost power for about 2 hours on Wednesday.
I heard that. I heard
And-
town kind of got knocked out.
Yeah.
What's
kinda
up with
weird.
that?
I don't know, but I'm glad I got the water backup sump pump.
Okay.
That thing kicked on and it
Did its job?
It did awesome.
Yeah.
It was. I'm glad I spent the money to have one of those because my neighbor has the battery one.
Right.
You gotta make sure you got the battery charged,
Right.
blah blah blah. But I ended up getting a water backup, and within 15 minutes of power going off, it went on
Okay.
because that's how fast my sump pump is cranking. But
Maybe 15 minutes or so, huh?
at least it is just draining. So, but I'm glad I did that, and then power came back on and life was good again. But yeah, there's a lot of water in the ground.
Yeah, it's all across the whole state. But before we get started, why don't you
You know
talk
what?
about what we got going on here with our Hunter's Blend tonight?
That's right. You know what? Once again, drinking Hunter's Blend coffee for the show. Don't forget to go over to huntersblendcoffee.com. Use the code
Right there.
right there in the corner, capital UNJ, and you'll get 10% upon your checkout. So
10% off.
get over there. Check out their coffees. They've got light roast, dark roast. They've got some shirts. They got cups.
Yep.
They've got
Mugs.
the tumblers. So check it out. It's a good, nice, smooth coffee.
And they give back to the outdoors.
And they give back. You know what? Matter of fact. Oh, is it on the front of these?
No, that's the old packaging. It's on the back.
Oh, you're right.
It's on the back of it.
We'll have to name them off next week because I think there's like 6 or 7 different ones.
Yeah. Josh Hagerman, hey, what's going on? He's on. Courtney Cool, hey, what's going on? Glad you guys could tune in tonight. I got to say something about Josh real quick. He started something.
Well, no, I'm kind of upset at Josh.
What are you upset? Oh, he's going to bust your chops right now, Josh.
He is going out there and killing these innocent trees. For what?
They got to go, man.
I sure hope so, young man, because they're going to come back to haunt you.
Started a one-handed usage of Easy Cut, which I've actually got the shirt on tonight, appropriately, of how easy they are to use, using him single-handedly. Him and Michael Fairfield, who we got to get here on the show here soon to talk about Easy Cut. But they kind of went through the whole lineup of products, and they're lopping limbs and trees and clearing shooting lanes single-handedly. Seriously, one-handed with these products.
You can. You literally can do it one-handed.
Yeah.
You know, I've used the products up north at the cabin, and
Courtney says, yeah, he started the video wars. Yeah. And Danny and I are figuring out something. We're going to come up with something, hopefully, here to maybe even one-up that.
Right.
We got our thinking caps on, so we'll see what happens. I actually had my Easy Cut pruners out today.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. I went to town out in the backyard. Yeah, I got the weed whip out, and I don't, when it's time to do some trimming and stuff, I bring out the Easy Cut stuff. And if you remember, was it last year? I cleared the fence off from all of our wild grapevines.
Yep.
I mean, I went to town. So.
I used it a couple weeks back, doing the same, where I take the lawnmower and I walk next to the woods and the trees were starting to smack me in the head.
Right.
I fixed them.
Sip.
Got the old loppers out. And
okay.
I actually gave them to Gabby just to press. I said, here, check these out, Gabby and Kelly, and said, here, use these and just let them do it.
There you go. It's just that easy. You're right. It is.
You're right, Josh. It is just that.
I was going to get the pole saw out today because I got some limbs on the black walnut tree in the back that need a little touching up.
Do you know black walnut tree?
Yeah.
Is it going to produce this year?
Oh, I've got the picture on my phone. I wish I'd have had it. I know we were going to talk about that. I'd have put it on. Yes.
Okay.
It is.
We've talked about this in past shows.
Yeah, there are clusters of 3.
Okay.
That's what I've noticed, and I don't know what the significance of that is with black walnuts, but for those of you who may not know that are watching, the reason we collect them, or I collected them in the past, is using them for trap dye, for trapping purposes.
And that's exactly what I was gonna say, because I think we talked about this, that it being secular as to
Every 2 to 3 years.
that they have a good crop.
Yes.
You know, they do it every year, but just there's one year that seems to be better than in a circular fashion, that this is the best year, then you'll tail off and then it starts again. But yeah, you use the black walnuts to dye your traps.
Yep.
So I was just wondering if that was going to be.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to have a bumper crop. 'Cause
Okay.
I actually looked up in the tree and I'm like, oh no, this means that we're going to have a ton of black walnuts, which means I got to get them out of the yard. And I haven't trapped in a while, but if you remember the photos, was it last week we showed the photos, my trail cam photos of all the coyotes?
Yeah.
This year might be the year to get back into it. I can bust my traps out.
Right.
So.
You know, it would behoove you to do that.
It would. So that way maybe I can have a few more of these babies to
right. So
reload.
So you got out the Easy Cut. You were back. You did some land moving too, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Yep.
The beauty of yard work.
You get to this point in the year, and it's like, okay, you shoot your bows. It's a weekend, like you mentioned. It's so wet that I decided to stay home. I didn't go to Indiana. While we're talking about that, let's just throw some of the pictures up. This is from our hunting lease down in Indiana. You can see the field hasn't been planted yet, much like Michigan. Nothing's been planted.
So I had to go.
You can see the weed growth back there.
Which was
we sprayed that
south of Linden.
Mm-hmm.
And I came upon a cornfield, and the saying goes, "Knee high by the fourth."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this wasn't about 6 inches.
Okay.
So it was like, ooh, they got it in late. So, do you think they're going to get those fields planted roughly soon?
They will. The high field's already been planted.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the lower fields. And actually, here's a little bit different angle from from the side kind of that field. All that green right there, that was all sprayed. We sprayed that back in April in our work day, and it was all dead. And now look at it. Look how lush that is. All those weeds.
But you killed them.
Yeah. Well, that is our new feral food plot,
right?
So to speak. So
that's one of the things that depending on these leases and stuff that you can get to, or my place up in the UP.
Mm-hmm.
You spray them, you kill them, but if you're not on top of them all the time,
mm-hmm.
Working at them, that's what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Those little bad boys show up, and then it's weeds everywhere.
It's a nightmare, to tell you the truth.
And especially now, right? We're ending in June and heading into July.
Mm-hmm.
It is prime time weeding.
Well, and even down in the thick stuff, we had trails that were beaten down and mowed. I mean, not really mowed, but we'd been up and down with the four-wheelers, and I mean, they were paths. And now, look at there. That's just growed up.
Right, exactly.
Flat out growed up.
It's growed up. It's, and this next picture right here, you can still kind of see the path.
Yeah.
But
we're going to have to get in there with a big cutter of some sort and get in there and mow it.
Right.
And they said that the swamp was knee-deep, so...
And speaking of rain in Illinois, Denny Steiner says they've had 11.5 inches of rain this week.
Wow. This week.
So I would be interested to find out, our buddy Lincoln, how his Illinois lease is looking.
He says looking like a good duck hunting lease.
There you go. Yep. Just like last year.
Mm-hmm.
So he might have some duck pitches for us again.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's one of those things that just... that's the cool thing about Mother Nature.
I don't know how cool it is, man. My backyard's got water in it, man. I tell you, I can't mow.
Well, what I'm talking about is the regeneration factor of, you go out there the dead of winter,
mm-hmm.
and it's just all dead and gray.
Yeah.
Now look, it's lush green and can't find your way anywhere.
Well, speaking of that, let's chase a rabbit here for just a second. We talked to Tread Bardo. Hopefully going to get him on this week, actually Wednesday night.
We did see a post by him, so he's still alive.
Yep, so everything's going well. But, we talked about that with him. Out in Alaska, the window of opportunity for green up is so small, because it's so, in the northern latitude, obviously. And he said everything's dead and dormant for so long, and when that window of opportunity hits, Mother Nature kicks into gear, and boom, everything greens up and it's lush, and it's just amazing.
Right, exactly. And Charles Byram is responding to Courtney on the page live right now, and he says that's what Roundup is for.
Yep, and actually I got to get some Roundup for the backyard.
And you know what? Speaking of that, their growing season being so short over there, you really can't afford missing time to get planted up there.
Right.
I mean, because if you miss it by a couple of weeks, it could mean either you're not going to make your crop or it's going to get frosted out.
Well, that's here. I've heard here in Michigan right now, all the fields around us pretty much are not planted. The ones that were planted are underwater or rotted. They're not on high ground. And they talk about the fact that they can't plant corn now. It's too late in the year.
Yes.
75-day corn's not even going to make it because you can't even get in the field to till the fields or even drill them right now because they're so wet. So, the hope is now maybe to get beans in, but are they even going to be able to grow? So a lot of farmers are really going to take it in the rear end this year and not be able to plant. Well, hopefully they got crop insurance.
Well, crop insurance, but the only thing you can't insurance against is those crops that they're relying on for feed.
Right. What are you going to do?
Insurance pays you the money for it, but
Yeah.
they don't hand you the corn. It says,
No.
here's your feed, so you're going to have to go out and buy it.
Well, that's the thing we were talking about amongst a couple of guys that I know here locally is what is the price of corn going to do this year? You know, is it gonna double? Are you going to be able to find it? You know, the Midwest, a lot of the Midwest is underwater still.
You know what? That's an interesting take on that because, and I'll actually be able to tell you store-wise by watching the corn price over at our local Tractor Supply.
Right.
It's amazing. Gosh, a few years back when Obama and they said about switching over to all E85 and
The fuel, corn fuel,
remember
gasoline.
right? Well, price of a bag of corn went up $9-10,
Right.
and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
Now it's come down. It's probably about $5 range, $5-6 range.
How big a
50-pound bag.
50-pound bag. Oh, it's $5. So it's 10 100.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's almost like you can start to watch it. And it's kind of really unique because when I first moved here 19 years ago, I want to say it was like $4 a bag.
Okay.
But it's just amazing how it flows, and that's a direct relationship as to what's happening out in the farmers' fields.
Right.
You know, so
Well, and take it a step further, and here's my question, and maybe somebody out there listening that knows a lot more about this can answer this for me. But think about, at least here in Michigan, the flyway for the ducks and geese for winter migration. You know, they come down, and Michigan is a pit stop along the way for them to, you know, pick the fields as they make their jumps to the south.
right.
So, are we going to have a problem if and when, well, not if, but when these ducks and geese start flying south, especially the late migrators, there's not going to be anything left if there's anything at all. What's going to happen?
Well, first of all, their fueling stop isn't going to be a fueling stop. So actually, there might become a problem with starvation or something of that nature,
Right.
where they'll run out of basically fuel getting down to where they need to be, or they're just gonna get locked up somewhere where they are food, and that might not be good either.
Speaking of food, Courtney asked, do we have veggie gardens planted here at our houses, or is it too wet and we can't? It's funny you asked that because actually the dirt pile that Danny was talking about that I moved a couple of yards of dirt over into an area of my yard to kind of fill in an old play set area. And I was actually going to plant that this year for a garden. And it's still wet. You know, it's
Yep.
it's still pretty wet. I could plant if I wanted to, but it's getting so late in the game now that I'm probably not going to put anything out.
I don't do a garden per se in the backyard because
Rabbits,
no, they're bigger.
deer.
Yeah, it's like I did the whole thing. I fenced it off and everything, and she jumped right in it.
Okay.
So, anyways, I plant actually right next to my house. Actually, is a good spot because of the heat off the house. So I planted. We got about 6 tomato plants in the ground, going on a few weeks, and they're now just starting to get that burst of growing.
Yeah.
So
Last garden we did here was 2013, and it got wiped out by the tornado. But part of it did make it through, and we called it the tornado garden because part of it did make it through. I think we got some cucumbers and some squash and zucchini and stuff like that. You know, the little more hardy plants that made it through. But we didn't get moved back in here until 2015, and we just really haven't planned a lot. We've been busy, and this is something I really wanted to do this year, and just didn't get it done. But speaking of that, come next year, if we see what we think we're going to see with these corn prices, now I think about that. Think about the price of beef that's going to go up.
well, everything's gonna go
You
up.
know, everything's because like I said, the farmers.
Yeah.
That means we're going to take more deer and put in the freezer this year so we can feed the family.
Right, exactly. The price of meat alone will increase because of the feeds increasing, and price of milk will go.
Yeah.
It's just
Right.
it'll all just like dominoes.
It
right?
is. It's going to be like dominoes. I think you're really going to start to see the price of that stuff go out of sight. And the fortunate thing for hunters here in Michigan is, man, we've really chased a rabbit here.
We
I
always
tell you
do.
what, let's take a break real quick and step outside. We come back. Let's continue the conversation. I need to save this one off because we were We were rambling on here for quite a while. Didn't realize how late
Did we go in the weeds?
segment. Yes, we did.
Way to go. So anybody out there that's got questions, you're right, Courtney. You end up, because of it's so wet, you end up with rot.
Yeah.
Yep, you do. And we could probably count on. Matter of fact, I think it was your fabulous station over there that I might have been peeking at when I was at the gym.
What's that?
They were talking about days of sunshine.
Oh, I had seen something this week, actually.
It was this week, and I can't remember where I was when I was looking at it. Oh, it was Friday. It was Friday. That's right, it was. It was Friday on the TV, and I think it was your station that was saying they were going over the number of days of sunshine and cloudy. And
I saw an article and this was for Grand Rapids, because this is where they kind of keep the records for the state here. And we'll talk about this here before we go back to the podcast real quick. That the state, since the last 11 months recorded, had an average of 200 and that can't be right. No. The last 3 months of the year, October, November, December, had like 260 something hours of total sunlight available.
okay.
But we only saw 26 hours of sunlight.
No wonder we're all grumpy in Michigan.
And I take that back. It was for 1 month, and I think it was December.
Okay.
But basically what it's saying is, like, 1 month, the worst month we had was December, which is typically cloudy. We only had 10% of available sunlight that we actually saw because of the cloud cover. And they said that, I know what it was, the last 11 months, from this date back 11 months, we were down every single month. The amount of sunlight that we actually saw was less than average.
Right, exactly.
Way less than average.
And that definitely plays into the psyche.
It does. Huge.
And I tell you, it's amazing.
It's depressing.
And you're right, Courtney. The weather is just crazy this year. And hey, Chris Kreiner.
Chris was out smoking them last night, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I do believe.
It was last night.
Okay.
Last night or the day before.
This thing's not going to play nice now. It's not going to play nice now. I may have to do a quick reboot here.
But anyway, so with the weather being the way it is, so like today being sunshine that it was like you almost just stared out there and go, wow. Because I cut the grass Friday night. I got home. It was still a nice day and everything. And it was just like, I'm getting out there and cut it, because the forecast was, here comes the rain. So it's like, all right, I'm going to get out there and cut it.
Well, that's what it boils down to, is like, now you have to mow the grass like every second day to stay on top of it. So
yeah.
It's horrible.
I know, right? And it's like, really?
Bear with me, folks. I'm doing a quick reboot.
Yeah, he's doing a reboot on the computer. Oh, there he goes. Chris Kreiner says Friday night was hot. And it wasn't the temperature, it was your gun barrels.
Your brother says he's raised beans, tomatoes, lettuce, and spice, is doing fabulous. He did plant it while it was raining.
Yes.
Barely had to water, I bet.
He was out there in all the weather, trudging through the water, being the city farmer that he is.
Well, it's going to boil down to the fact, I really do think that with the way the prices are going to go because of this year, food prices, that people are going to resort to going back to planting gardens next year to try to help out and feed their families. I mean, just to save some money.
Well, right over here in Holly, they've got that community garden that everybody can come to and plant. Chris Kreiner. Ooh.
Shot at 5, got 3. That sounds like me with groundhogs. I shot at 6 and got 5. They got one of them little suckers got away.
Right.
Okay, we're in reboot mode here. It's coming.
It's coming?
Sorry, folks. This is what happens sometimes with a live broadcast.
Right.
We're getting there. We'll get rolling here in just a second with this next segment, because I got a thought that I want to finish on from last segment, if we can.
So a 60% average for Chris Kreiner.
That's good.
That's
Chris, I got a question for you that since you're on right now, and we're trying to kill a second here. trail cam photos. I just pulled trail cam photos that I left out all winter, and what I really noticed, and Danny and I talked about this last week on the show, was the fact that it seemed like activity was up during snowstorms and right after a snowstorm with coyote activity.
Do you agree?
Do you agree? Do you notice that? Do you see that? Is that typical? I mean, I've heard right after a storm, but even during a storm, we noticed that we had a lot of coyote activity on our trail cameras. Okay,
Right.
You ready, Danny?
All right.
Okay, here we go. Stand by in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Second segment of the show. And right before we went to break, we're talking about, prices of corn and all that, how it's going to affect things. But the one saving grace, I think, is here in Michigan this year, you can't bait in the Lower Peninsula, so it's not going to matter.
Well, that's a different type of corn, though.
It is a different type of corn, but I'm just saying, like what you said.
But what that might do is, like you said, because we're not allowed to bait here in the Lower Peninsula, the allotted feed corn that goes that way can be redirected back to the cattle, if it got in the ground.
Josh's wife, the lovely Miss Hagerman, says, I think next year's ag prices will be through the roof since there will be no income of crops this season to fall back on. Exactly. Courtney's checking out now. You have a good night as well. Your brother, the neighbor behind, thinks he's given up on cutting his part of the grass.
I believe that.
But that's what this weather's been doing to us.
It's been wacky.
It has been.
And here in Michigan, I noticed this last system went south of us, so Ohio got it.
They got smoked, yeah.
They got
in Indiana.
And last weekend they got smoked. Another system went north of us. Mm-hmm. And so it's like sometimes we get lucky and we play right on the fringe of the game, or
right.
But it is what it is. I know the Upper Peninsula had a lot of water. So
did you notice? I got the coffee open.
I see that you got this week. You got the coffee open. You didn't.
Gotta love that sound,
right?
Especially when it's Hunter's Blend.
Yes. So it's one of the things you learn. Don't over tighten the cap.
That's right. Especially when it's hot.
Yeah,
it's going to expand.
You'll never get your coffee.
That's right. So, but I tell you what, moving on. What else is going on, Dan? We talked a lot about the weather here for a second.
We talked about the weather. We actually, I know you got your bow set up. Mm-hmm. We got our bows all tuned, ready to start shooting. I know you did some shooting this week. I haven't shot.
Well, I'm still waiting. I can't finish tuning.
Okay.
After I got dialed in, like I said last week, the 8th shot was another tubed arrow.
Yep.
So I'm down to 3 arrows.
Well, you better start moving your point of aim.
Well, I decided to go back to shooting individual spots first of all, but I'm going to switch it up with arrows this year.
Sure, why not?
Got some different stuff coming in that's being that I'm going to have built, and I'll talk more about that when they come in. Just don't want to give that all away just yet.
When we actually get them.
I'm
going to run with. It's a good question.
These are going to be Black Eagles.
Yeah, I might run some Black Eagles through my. 28.
Okay.
I might run them through there one.
For hunting?
Yeah, the Evoke, I'll probably run the SDs through.
Okay, you're still going to stick with the SDs
just the smaller diameter.
And you're using that bow for...
That'll be for my...
Outdoor,
indoor target.
Okay.
Party.
Gotcha.
And then I'll run I think. I don't know. I got enough arrows I can shoot and play and figure out which ones I want to go with.
Well, and it's funny you say that because this year we're not running with an arrow sponsor, so it gives us the opportunity for the last 2 or 3 years of the things that we've learned along the way. Now it gives us an opportunity to play with a couple of different setups and figure out what works. So
and just to almost finish that thought, Chris Kreiner, to answer our question, has never had much luck before storms.
Okay.
Right after storms, I've had very active coyotes, but during the storm he's tucked into bed. Okay.
All right. Yeah, we had a lot of trail camera activity with coyotes. We just, for those of you on the podcast, we'd asked this question of Chris during the commercial
Yeah,
break.
and Chris Kreiner also says that he loves his deep impacts and carnivores.
Okay.
I agree. I've shot the we've shot the carnivores.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And I think the impacts is, if I'm not mistaken, that's what I went with, what I got coming. So.
And to talk more about that, I think we'll have Chris Schnur on, who's done a lot of testing with arrows.
He has.
This and that, and put this and put that, and mix and match, and weight here, weight there.
Yeah, he does a lot of tinkering, and if you guys are interested, actually he's part of another podcast, and it's help me think of the name, Bow
Planet,
Hunter Planet, I believe.
BHP.
So go over and check out Chris's podcast. So we're gonna get him on. We're gonna do a little bit of collaborating back and forth here real soon. So he's got some stuff that he's working on, but he tinkers a lot.
So my brother's mother-in-law, who lives on Harson's Island,
Okay.
has 4 more inches to go before it's coming over the seawall. The Corps of Engineers has said, "Oh, we'll have relief by the end of July."
Relief in what way?
I'm sure.
Weather?
Is water going to go down? I think what they're
Isn't Harson's Island in a Great Lake?
Yep, it's right in the. It's on the way from one Great Lake to the other. But
Is that Lake St. Clair?
Yes, it's at the north end.
Okay, so it's in the baby Great Lake.
So the funny thing about what they just said was, when do we typically have a drought here in Michigan?
It usually hits in July. Yeah.
Okay, you told me nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, because usually July, it's like, well, I didn't have to cut my grass for 2 weeks.
Right.
So, but that's kind of funny. But, and I saw today that they had flood warnings in the lower southeast corner of the state because of the winds.
Right, it's
coming
pushing
off
water.
Yep.
Pushing water on shore. Yep. And that's the other thing about the Great Lakes. You see that a lot, especially like in Saginaw Bay. It'll actually push water back in the river.
Yep. So anyways, back to our bows.
Yep.
I know you did some shooting. Mm-hmm. I've done a little bit of shooting with the 28 and a limited amount with the Evoke. Mm-hmm. But I'm hoping to get that out this week.
Well, you took the 28 up to the Total Archery Challenge.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you shot with it up there.
I shot it up there.
And
but I want to get more in tune with it.
Yeah. Okay.
I want to become one with the bow.
One with the bow.
Right.
Okay.
Just like I want to do with the Evoke, but I got to get out there to do it. So.
Yeah, I shot I shot, I think, 50 or 60 arrows the other night. I mean, that was, and then last night I shot, that was Friday, then last night I shot, probably 20 or 30 through. But yeah, this is the new target setup, the PSE shoot down. It's different shooting a 37-inch axle-to-axle bow versus a 28-inch axle.
Oh, huge! I mean, it's huge.
It's amazingly different shooting, that much difference in the lengths of getting used to it. Running a lot of weight out on, and actually I found out it's not a lot of weight, but if I can feel it, that's the one difference in shooting a target setup versus my hunting setup is with a front stabilizer and a back bar on it. And on the front, I think I just started out with 4 ounces of weight, and on the back bar, I think I just went up to 5.
Okay.
I think I threw an extra ounce on there, and it's getting used to all that weight.
It's a heavy bow.
Yeah, and how it feels and how it shoots. But I tell you what, putting a lens on that thing, it's
does that make a difference?
Night and day. You put a lens on yours.
I put it end of last year indoor season. And I just went and did it, and it ends up being a hoot.
Yeah,
it's like wow.
Yeah, I can actually see the
There's
target.
the target. Hey,
right.
that's what the X looks like.
Right. That's what it's supposed to look like.
Right. So and you had a beautiful night to get out there shooting.
Oh, it was awesome out there. My son was home from college. He took these photos for me, just so I could get some photos out shooting the bow. And it felt really good just to get out and just do a little bit of shooting. So trying to think here if I go through a couple more of these photos.
Yeah, and just getting out there shooting.
Here it is. This is pretty cool. He caught the arrow coming off the bow.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
So I thought that was pretty cool. He just happened to touch the thing at the right time. But no, it feels good. I'm getting used to it. like I said, the weight. What amazed me was how the back bar brings the bow into level.
Okay.
I knew what it was there for, but target season, I didn't run any extra weight on. I had the hunter package set up on that bow.
Yep.
And that's what I run out in the field when I'm hunting now, is a 12-inch front bar and a 10-inch back bar, just to kind of get that bow balanced in shooting it. But with this one, putting that extra weight on it, actually you can feel how it brings that bow right into level.
Brings it right into just when you do the drawback and the whole, yep, it sits nice in your hand.
It's really amazing the way it's all coming together. So it's starting to make sense to me now. All the different little intricacies of what we're doing with these and trying to make them work. So and I'm running an Excel site on the front. I started with it out at position 7, like fully extended.
Okay.
And Krishner made a suggestion for me. He said, pull that back in two notches to the 5th position. He said, what it does is it doesn't like it slows that movement down out in front. He said it actually, with a focused, like a 4-power lens on it, he said the further away from you it is, the more it dances.
Yes.
So, and that seemed to help settle it down a little bit for me as well. So,
nice.
And it's just, not knowing and learning these things. So it's really worked out well.
And that's what's nice about having Dan around, having Chris around, and having Jim around. You bounce these questions off them, and they kind of explain it to you and tell you what's going on.
Right.
I know when you were shooting this bow, and Chris, when you shot it first, and then Chris just said, "Hey, just how many clicks it was."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Run it, 10 clicks up or 12 clicks down or whatever, and
right. And next, you're shooting bullseyes. So
right. Yeah, it's amazing. So, a couple other things that I noticed here. Let me see if I can find the photos here. We get down to them. And you wonder about form. You're like, if I got the right form, is my arm in the right position? And then looking at the photo here, it's like, I'm straight back, which was nice. Jake took a couple really good pics, so I could see, what my form looked like, making sure that I was in the right position, and it worked out really well. So
that's awesome. That's a good night out, and you didn't tube any arrows.
No, I did not. No.
See, now it'll be interesting because you're going to get over with 3D here. Then you're going to have to get some larger diameter arrows for indoor season.
Right. I thought I had another picture that I wanted to show. Yeah, right here. This is the one.
The question for my brother is: once you release, does the bow move much?
With the weight on the front, yeah, it rolls.
It rolls forward.
But right here, and you look at the form there, but you also look. I'm looking at where my hand is positioned on my release, on the stands release. The biggest thing I've really concentrated on is getting my thumb up around that spring and making sure that it keeps me from punching.
Right.
Punching that spring. Instead of taking and really allowing that pinky to roll back into that release and fire that bow, that release. And I could really see it here in this photo here that it was, it was actually in the right position. I was really concentrating on that as well. So.
And speaking of getting your arrows in tune, Denny Steiner has got his Maximo Reds tuned at 400 grains, but he also has his Buffalo arrows, which are 800 grains that he's got tuned. So he's headed to Australia July 13th, and then he's going to head to South Africa July 24th. And he's finally able to pull 71 pounds consistently.
After his little heart stint, how long before the doctor give you the okay for that?
Right? I'm sure the doctor had some choice words for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing what?
Yeah, exactly. And if I remember, when we talked to Denny, and Denny, correct me on this if I'm wrong, but when we talked to him at ATA, he has his setup for different games, like the big animals, and then your regular size animals like whitetail. But he had 2 different sights set up for 2 different grained arrows.
Correct. Instead of taking 2 bows,
right,
he ran 2 sights.
Yep.
That were interchangeable.
Yep.
one set of arrows for this site and the other set of arrows for that site.
Yep.
And all he did was switch out the site, switch arrows,
Good to go.
and he was on.
So,
But that's kind of cool. But anyways, you will definitely have to talk to him when he gets back
absolutely.
and see what kind of pictures he can show us.
Right on. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and take our next break. We come back, we'll continue the conversation here and see what's been going on this week. Maybe if you guys got some questions, throw them our way, and we'll entertain a few.
Yeah.
We'll be right back after this. And the computer's playing nice. That's good.
Right? Okay. Got my question here for you.
You got a question for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about that article.
Oh, that's right. I forgot all about that. Alrighty. Here we go. And 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Third segment of the show. And Denny just confirmed, yes, that is correct. That's the way he did that. So here in the commercial break, we got the answer for you guys.
See, Denny, we don't forget your interviews.
That's right.
We listen. I had a question for you.
For me? Little old me?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, fire away.
Deb sent me this article entitled, "A Friendly Black Bear Was Euthanized After It Came to Love People Who Fed It and Took Selfies."
The bear took selfies?
Uh,
I didn't know
Right?
bears had cell phones.
I didn't either. But anyways, out in Oregon,
Did he make duck lips?
probably did. The wildlife officials said they were forced to euthanize a friendly young black bear. Since the beginning of June, the police have received regular calls about this bear at a boat ramp at an Oregon park. They found the animal surrounded by piles of trail mix and sunflower seeds. They said the bear was 100 pounds, between 2 and 3 years old. They said that because the bear became so accustomed to human contact, they decided to put it down. What do you think about that?
In what regards? I got a lot of thoughts, but
My first thought is it was wrong to feed the bears.
that's the first thing.
The first thing is you shouldn't feed the bears.
What gets me is you always get people, well, we can't hunt the bears. I mean, this is out on the East Coast. We've seen this many, many times. I think New Jersey, Connecticut.
New Jersey's the
You
one
know,
that comes to mind.
And, all the antis get their dander all up. You can't hunt the bear. Got to leave them alone. But that and still, you don't hear anybody out screaming and yelling about the fact that people feed the bears. And they, like you said, they become accustomed to people. It's not good for the animals.
It definitely is not good for the animals really not good for this animal because they ended up shooting it.
You're right.
Because they deemed that it was becoming, my first thought was, shame on the people for feeding it.
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen enough videos. Matter of fact, this year that some people have tried taking selfies and get attacked.
Right.
You ask for it.
Yeah, yep.
Well, look at Tread Barta.
Yep.
He's fishing basically in their menu,
Right.
and when the bear comes out, well,
Time to go.
time to go, right?
Yeah.
I think they could have done something different than just kill the bear.
Fish and Game could have definitely, they should have trapped it in. I don't know what you're going to do with it if you put it in a zoo, or if you try to relocate it.
Well, they said
Way out in the wild.
Well, they said they couldn't relocate it because it had become too accustomed to humans. My thought was, well, then use it as a learning tool. If it's become that accustomed to humans, make use out of it. Don't just waste the resource.
Right.
That's my big thing. You shoot a bear because it became too friendly with humans. Yeah, it's screwed up, but don't just shoot it and be done with it.
Right.
Make it useful. Take it. It'll still always be wild. Bottom line, but use it to our advantage as a learning tool.
I'm surprised that if it become that accustomed to humans, if they had that many calls on it, they didn't do something earlier.
I'm surprised,
Trap it,
being
get it out.
Oregon, that they actually did that.
That's true too. Yeah, I hear you.
Right? So
No, that goes with any game animal, I think. Yeah.
Daddy says put it in a
zoo.
zoo. My brother says why could they not move the bear, relocate the bear? What they deemed in the article was that the bear could not be relocated because it had lost its, in effect, its
Sense of surviving the
sense
wild.
of survival skills of going after food. It was relying on the people for the food. So that goes right to Denny, put it in the zoo, right?
Well, you look at that. Do we do that for those that do bait? Is that what happens with whitetails? I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh, well, if you want to move it to white,
I want to stir the pot. Now.
if it move it to whitetails, it can sure happen.
They become accustomed to getting food.
Absolutely,
them.
it can come down to, if it's their main source.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure, why not? They'll if you can go out there with a bucket, shake the bucket, they all come running.
I've seen that. I've actually saw that at our old cabin. This was back in, man, I want to say the early 90s. Yeah, early 90s. We had 40 acres up in Everett, and there's a old guy down the road. You know, he was like a mile down the road, and we, became friends with him.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
local. He lived there, but he fed the deer, and we kind of got to know him a little bit. He's like, "Hey, watch this." So we stood back out, in front of his place, and he went out the back door and banged 2 coffee cans together, and deer came out into the backyard.
I believe it.
And I'm like, talking about getting them accustomed to a human, I mean, it was cool to see the deer come out, but in the same sense, I was upset. It's like they shouldn't be that unafraid of humans.
Right. And then that's when things can go so wrong. Like you see these people in these parks that think the bear is really cool, and then they go out and try to get a selfie with it, and they wonder why it turned on them.
Well, Steve Denoyer, he says, it seems like they could reacclimate it back to surviving on their own. Yeah, so if an animal gets acclimated to something, couldn't you reacclimate it back to the wild? I don't know the answer to that.
Rehab it. Well, they do it for
Rehab it, yeah.
for eagles and
Yeah.
other
Yeah, they get
animals,
injured.
right? They rehabilitate them to fly again and learn to hunt. So why couldn't they? That's a good one. Why couldn't they do it for a bear?
Send it to a rehabilitator.
Yeah, let it get its wildness back to it, and then relocate it. That's
Right.
that's a good call. I like that one because
Yep.
you're right. Because whether it be an owl or they take it to the local rehab center, get it back if they're able to get its wing back, and then they'll say, okay, we'll release it.
Did the article say anything about what they did with the meat? Because I got a huge issue with that too. How about it didn't? You just wonder. You just wonder what they did with the meat. I mean, because most fish and game agencies, even on state level, are really anal about making sure that there's no wanton waste. As Danny's gleaning through the article.
Yeah. It's illegal in Oregon to lure an animal by scattering food or leaving garbage. So you can't bait.
So is that baiting for a selfie?
It doesn't say.
Isn't that technically baiting to get the animal to come up to you so you can take a picture?
Right. So it did not say what they did with the meat.
Ticket them. Start issuing fines.
Right. Nope. Didn't say what they did with the meat.
Maybe that way they could habitualize the people to leave the stinking bears alone.
Right. So that was my question to you, because I just thought it was kind of a waste of a resource. It was.
Yeah.
And then now that question brought up about rehabbing it is really, now you're right.
Yeah. I like that.
I do too, and that really shows they just didn't want to deal with it anymore. And
Yeah. Take the easy way out.
Yep, easy way out. Stop the complaints. Move on.
Yep.
Dead
Move
bear.
along. Yeah. So, and
You can't blame the bear.
no, a bear's going to do what a bear's going to do. You got a free meal, it's going to take it. And I assume, maybe I shouldn't assume, but are all state game agencies, in state where the people of the state own the resources?
No, that's what you'd think.
Like here in Michigan, all of us collectively who are residents of Michigan own, number one, the public lands together, but we also own the game animals, whether they're on private land or not. If it's a state game animal, we all have a shared vested interest in that. So.
Correct. So that's my.
Your brother says, you hope the deer come to your food plot. That would be a type of training. Yeah, actually it is. And actually, I want to throw this out there. Right now, so far this year, we've decided not to plant food plots at our place up north.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, we're going to try something, do something a little bit different. We might put a few small plots in. But
Throws and grows.
yeah, don't really know what direction we're going to go with it just yet, but we kind of collectively come to an agreement that maybe it's better that we not be the smorgasbord of the whole area, and let things kind of go back to natural.
So, with that being said, your fields will become feral fields.
We may plant some grasses and use them as bedding areas, fawning grounds,
Absolutely.
cover, transition areas for deer. You know,
Sure, why not? Why not get them to stay
Yeah,
instead of just feed and move through?
yeah. So we're starting to kind of rethink some things. We got some questions about things, and you know, the dynamics of the area is getting us to think about how we're gonna.
The dynamics of the area when you planted last year,
They just mow it to nothing.
there was no, unless you really went to the electrified fence idea,
Yeah.
there was no way that you were going to get something tall enough for them to.
Sustain through the winter.
They were mowing it literally as it was growing.
But see, the bigger issue, and to me, I have concern for is those food plots when we get into fawning season. And we're coming out of winter into green up. You know, does are going to need to be producing milk. They're going to need to be getting their nutrition value back up. What they're eating to, you know, have healthy fawns. So those are some of the things that we're concerned with. But you know, where's that balance, and what do you do, and is it better to go a la natural versus bigger food plots? And we're really starting to think a little more critically about how we hunt and the tactics we're going to use to help sustain the animals and what's best for them. So
You're right, Charles. They were definitely worried about the bear attacking the people because it had no fear of humans. That's bottom line. That's what they were afraid of. They didn't want to have what we've seen so many times on YouTube is somebody's taking a selfie with it, and all of a sudden the bear turns and starts chasing them.
Speaking of, let's chase another rabbit real quick. I just saw this on. Speaking of, on Facebook, my son showed me this today that there was a Russian bear. I'm not forget what their species is called, but it's a big Russian bear, much like a grizzly, I guess. The thing was extremely enormous, and it killed 2 hikers, and they went in after this thing to kill it, and you know, because it was a threat.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody else has seen this, but I tell you, if you get to see all the pictures, the ones that are covered up and it says "click here to view" because they're graphic. They're graphic, man. I tell you, it was what the bear did to the 2 people. I was like, oh my gosh.
Made Swiss cheese out of them?
It was
bad.
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. Yeah.
My brother says it's a good chance to redesign your area.
Well, and that's kind of what we're thinking. You know, especially with habitat. You know, going back to the food plots, not the bears. But yeah, we're thinking about, okay, what do we start planning now, and how do we break up some of these bigger fields that we've got, and what do we use them for? So yeah, I think really what's going to happen here in the next year or two is we're going to have to sit down collectively as a group and really figure out the direction that we want to go, and start cultivating a plan, an action plan, and put that together, and start moving towards that direction.
I tell you what, your fields, I would love to put and create some hedgerows in them.
Well, that's kind of what we're thinking. Yeah, they need something to break them up because they're so big.
You've got them so big now, you can actually create the hedgerows in directions that you want it to go.
Funnel the deer. Yeah.
Which is whether you do an S or what happens. I'm sure happens in your fields because they're so big. Is Mr. Buck can stand at one end
and look
all the way down at the other and go, yeah, there's no does here, so I can continue on.
Right.
Whereas if he can only see maybe 75 yards, he goes, oh, well, what's on the other side of that? And he's got to go to the next one.
Right.
And you got to go to the next one.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, no, yours is it's awesome.
It's going to give us some opportunities to start playing with some things and really figuring out how we want to progress with redeveloping the area, and actually how we get access to certain parts of the property, moving in and out collectively as a group or individually as a single hunter, to a stand,
Yep.
a stand location, and really figuring out where and how we can get in and out quietly. So, yeah, some really good stuff to really start to think about going
Got
into
a
the season.
blank slate.
Yeah, well, some of it might need to be erased and then redrawn.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I mean, but yeah, it's exciting. It's a big task, but it's exciting.
It won't happen overnight.
No.
So
That's the one thing. Early successional growth. Yeah, Steve. I'm a big proponent of letting things kind of go back natural. You get those. I'm trying to think of the term they use. I studied it in QDMA, Deer Steward 1.
you forgot everything you learned in
I just don't
QDMA.
remember what they call it. But basically, it's the natural vegetation that deer browse on.
Oh, okay.
The actual forbs. The forbs that they browse on.
Oh, okay.
See, it came back to me.
See?
Just had to think about it.
Right.
But yeah, instead of going back to those food plots and investing all that money in food plots, like I said, we're still going to do some, but it's going to be on a much smaller scale.
Right.
So, well, I'll tell you what. Let's take our last break. We come back. We'll continue the conversation and see what else we can get into. We'll be right back after this.
And for those of you got any questions out there, last chance to get them to us, because we're in the last segment of the show.
A lot of good discussion
And
tonight.
60% so far are going to be doing something outdoor activities.
On the 4th of July weekend.
20% says no. 20% says not sure yet. Those 20% are probably going to, are going to be weather related. Is it going to rain or is it not going to
Right.
rain?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, realistically.
Well, this week it's supposed to be, after tomorrow, it's supposed to be 80s and nice.
Until Friday.
Yeah.
And then we're right back to another day of rain.
Yep.
But, hey, wait 5 minutes. It'll change.
Right. Well, it's way too early.
Right.
It's only Sunday and we're talking Friday, so you know how that goes.
Right. Okay.
I want to be a weatherman. That's all I need to know. I would talk to JR and see what his success rate is.
There you go. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Last segment of the show. And, for those of you on the podcast, we got a poll out right now. The question is, do you have outdoor activities planned for the 4th of July weekend? And 60% of the people do right now.
Yeah, so rain or shine, you're going to be out in the outdoors. The other
Outdoors doing
20%,
something. Yeah.
weather dependent,
Right.
which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope it's a nice weekend.
Yeah.
Because the 4th comes in on a Thursday this year, right?
Getting back to the question or what we were just talking about, Steve also said you could do parts in successional growth. Craig Harper in Cadillac at the QDMA branch there next weekend. Actually, I actually got to hear Dr. Harper speak last year at a controlled burn. I think it was Dr. Harper. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure. It was.
When you went to the control burn thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and it rained and we couldn't do it.
Right. Imagine that, right?
That was last year. So, but yeah, so
That's pretty cool.
food plots, man. It's
Well, you're just getting into about the season to get your fall food plots in.
well, here's the other issue. Not only dealing with putting the food plots in and all the work involved. Most people have to hire somebody to do them if they do them on a bigger scale than basically with their ATV,
Right.
Like what you do. So you got to hire a farmer. You got to get work around his schedule. He's got to get his fields taken care of first.
He's
so-
got to worry about number one himself first.
Right. So you're always on the back burner waiting. You know, that's another advantage to this. Don't have to worry about waiting on somebody else to get there to do the work for you.
Right. Exactly. That's always when you're dependent on somebody else, it can get monotonous.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when you're like, oh, if you have it in this week, X amount of days, man, it'll be ready October 1st, and then they're still not in the ground. You're like,
Right.
wait a minute.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And the further north you go, the later you wait, the earlier that frost hits you, and you're like,
Yeah.
come on,
Right.
come on, need it out there.
Yeah, because the growing season's a lot shorter up there.
Right. So, but with the 4th, actually after next weekend, we'll be into July, and then it's like, okay, so now we're getting into July.
So when it hits July 1st, that 4th of July weekend, after that, what are you thinking? What is your attention turned to in the outdoors? Is there anything specific? We've never really talked about that.
Well, typically the 4th of July is my
Getaway?
used to be just okay. That now I'm going to start thinking about hunting, but now we think about it 365 days a year,
Right.
basically. So it just blends into my mode that we're going to go into. Right? Will we be shooting the bows? Yep. Will I be shooting the crossbow? Yep. So I'm just going to continue that on. Hopefully I get up north. Whether I get up north in July or I get up there in September, I'll get something planted. Whether it comes up for this year will be debatable, but it could be set for next spring.
Mm-hmm.
But when July hits, it's usually the start of, okay, so now what week are we going to go? What week of November we're going to go?
Mm-hmm.
What's my dates?
Right.
I start lining up things as to what shows we're going to be doing or not doing. But hunting-wise, it's like, okay. But now, here's the other thing. We've been working out, and I think we're on 8 months now.
You took it down the road I was hoping you'd go down. Okay, go ahead.
And it's like,
Because I want to throw something out to you guys.
And it's like, okay, we've been working out now 8 months, and it's like, I was at the gym this morning, and
I saw that.
yeah, and it's just part of the. It's almost becoming part of the routine that, okay, we're working out, we got to shoot. What I'd really like to do is get my muzzle loader probably set up. I'd like to really try to get that set up. But it'll my focus will be more defined on the hunting side of it.
Okay.
With some fishing thrown in there somewhere.
Okay.
And so that's kind of what happens July 1st.
Okay. You start kind of making that turn towards fall just a little bit.
Exactly.
Narrowing
It's
things
like,
down.
The days are getting shorter, so.
Okay. Well, since you mentioned going to the gym, working out and all that, actually, before I go down that road, Terry, your brother said, will you guys discuss in a show in the future what type of arrow size, league hunting and all that, to which one to use and why?
Absolutely.
Hopefully we're going to get Chris Schnurr on.
Yep, and that's exactly what the path will take with him is to why he's shooting this arrow because
He's been tinkering a lot.
Yeah,
with
he's
arrows.
been and not just one name brand.
Yep.
He's been going across different brands, whether it be Easton, Victory, Carbon Express. Black Eagle. He's been tinkering to the point of knowing, putting this all together and why. So,
But getting back to your talking about the gym. Speaking of Chris, over at the place where he's at.
Can you carry this conversation for 5 minutes?
Yep. So Danny's got to take a quick call as he steps out for just a second. But and what he's doing over at his shop is they're starting this conversation or this activity of getting people together that are taking out west hunts, and they're doing a workshop of exercise. And with that being, hang on just one second. He's coming back. You good?
Yep.
Okay. So as Danny sets back down.
Yes.
So they're getting these guys geared up to go out west. They're doing exercise there. They're having these mini boot camps and things. And Danny and I have been going to the gym, and we talked to our personal trainer over there about actually coming onto the show and doing a 3 month out, actually here in the next month or so, before season, of what it takes to get your average guy who gets out and hunts off the couch and onto his living room floor and working out, or into a gym and working out to get ready for hunting season. And what they're doing over there at their place is kind of geared for out west, but it got me thinking a little bit. And actually, I might go over and check out one of their boot camps one night just to see what they're doing.
Go see what they do.
Yeah, a little different. And they're doing a lot of hiking and things like that. But would all of you who are listening to the podcast or watching the live stream, would you be interested in if we did some kind of workout challenge, or like we all kind of come together as a group and just to help each other through going to the gym or whatever?
Actually, we become a support system for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
If there's one thing Mike and I learned in this whole little 8 month endeavor so far, is we kind of hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
We're not really strict. We're not, but we're there and hey, let's do this. Or when we are working out, it's like, come on, you can do it.
Yep. Come on, one more. Give me one more good one.
One more good one. And we do have rough nights. It's like,
yeah, don't want to be here.
we power through it,
But
and we help each other to power through it.
Yep.
And and I have to admit that when I'm working out with Mike Adams, I got to hold the crowd back. That's kind of why I'm there, is the crowd just wants to see him work out.
Yeah.
But anyways,
He knows more people there than I do.
But the thing is, having that support system, and if you want to do it online on a Facebook page or something like that, or it's awesome just to say, hey, I've been to the gym tonight. Have you?
Yeah.
Or
Did my workout, or did this set or whatever. And I mean, I'm not afraid to put it out there, but we can put our workout, what we're doing. I mean, we're not professionals by any stretch. We're not gym rats by any stretch of imagination. We're just two guys that want to get healthier.
No, we don't have the credentials of Big Screen Ben.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
your buddy.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that, guys, we're getting within about the 3-month time zone to October 1st. And we asked the trainer, said, about how long would it take? And he said 3 months. So this is a good opportunity. If you want to hit the October 1st date, 3 months, have yourself in better health, even if it's just walking.
Yeah, so drop us a comment, shoot us a message on a private message, whatever. We want to see what kind of feedback we can get out of this, because really what we want everybody to feel good when they're going out to their stand. We don't want anybody struggling to climb into their stand. We want you in good physical shape getting out there. There's nothing worse than hearing about these guys and gals. They get out there and they have heart attacks or have other health problems, and it's just about living longer and healthier. Right. And you know what? Like I said, we're not nowhere near professional on this, but we could use a little encouragement ourselves, and people hold us accountable as well.
There's some days it gets a little bit dicey in there, but we do it.
Yeah.
We do it, and we've been doing it 8 months now. Like I said, I went to the gym this morning, and basically I did our Tuesday arm workout again. So I doubled that up this week. So
you're going to walk around like Popeye.
That's the plan. That's the plan. So, but anyways, it's time if you want to turn things around. It's never too late.
That's right.
Because perfect example, that guy that must have been 85.
Oh my gosh, what an inspiration.
And I kid you not, it looked like a father and son, because they actually had matching gray hair at the time.
Yeah.
But if this gentleman was not younger than 85, I'd be shocked.
Right.
But his dad would set him up on a machine, and I don't know how much weight it was, but he would do the machine.
Right.
And I think it was just an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. Getting him out there and getting him active.
And then he would let him clean the machine, which was great. Reminded me of my dad. I think it was in that father's mind of being able to do it. He was doing the flies the one time.
Yep.
And just the sheer fact he could do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what it's about. Just getting out there. It doesn't matter how much weight you lift. It doesn't matter how many times you do things. It's just getting out, getting started. And that was the roughest part for me, was getting started. I got a picture, and I don't have it up right now, but I'll show it at some point. My motivation when I hit 262 pounds, and I saw myself, and I was like, that's enough. I'm done. And that was my turning point. So
Ronald Gerchow says, been doing the gym workouts for over 2 years so he can hunt and shoot to his best of his ability.
Jim Beasley does the same thing.
Yep.
And I will say that, Ron, what we noticed was at the Total Archery Challenge, shooting uphill, when you're holding and you're shooting uphill on a 20-degree incline, when you're holding that bow up, it's not natural to hold and shoot up. It's more natural to shoot downhill out of a tree stand.
Absolutely.
And in that stamina and being able to climb and move and get around the course, there's no way we could have done it if we hadn't been doing.
We would have been a lot more winded.
Yeah, it'd have been horrible.
My brother says he will be a geezer status shortly. And it's use it or lose it. Need to get in the gym. Yes, you do.
Okay, we got our first one. We're gonna hold you accountable, Terry.
He's got
how many days?
4 hours.
4 hours. Happy birthday, Terry. Happy birthday to you, man. But I tell you what, it's something we're serious about, and we want to get everybody active and get them out there. And like I said,
and a big shout out to Billy Hoffman too. He's been through this.
Billy has, and actually he had that scare last year.
Yes, sir.
And when that happened, it kind of got me to thinking a little bit, and that's when I looked in the mirror and I'm like, geez, I'm huge. got to do something, you know. And sometimes it takes a little something to get somebody to react and to get active. So that's all we're saying.
Yep, exactly. So feel free to get in the gym.
That's right. Let us know, because like I said, we'll get a support group going, and hopefully we can get our personal trainer on here. We need to talk to him about that Monday if we can, and see if we can get that make that happen here in the next week or two.
He's had a schedule change, so he's been he's now kind of like dazed now.
Yeah.
So we'll have to talk to him. We'll see him.
And actually, maybe like I said, we could do this over at the gym one evening when things kind of slow down, maybe even, and just kind of go live, make it happen that way. Little more
kind of proof that we're doing it.
Right. So, but I tell you what, we're bumping up here on time for the podcast, so we're going to wrap it up for the podcast portion. And you guys take care. Get out, enjoy the outdoors while it's sunny out, because who knows when it's going to rain again next. But anything else, Dan?
Nope.
All right.
See you next week.
That'll do it for us this week, folks. And everybody on the live stream, you got some questions, throw them at us. We'll hang out here for a few minutes.
Right.
Always love to chit chat here towards the end of the show.
Yeah, chit chat to the end.
So your brother's turning the big 6-0.
Yes, he is.
Wow.
Big 6-0.
Well, I'm still closer to 50 than I am 60.
There you go.
So we'll let that resonate there for a few.
Tomorrow's his birthday.
There you go.
So, pretty quiet.
Yeah. Anybody else on? Got anything you want to throw at us real quick? Feel free to.
Yep.
What do you got planned for this upcoming weekend, Dan? Anything going on?
It's all up in the air.
It's all up in the. I got you. All up in the air. You know, it kind of gets. You get the summer, and sometimes all of a sudden you got a family function you need to go to. It's like, oh, I forgot about that.
Right.
That creeps up on you a little bit, or open house season, you know, or all of a sudden somebody's got free tickets to a concert or a ball game. They want you to go.
Right.
And before you know it, a couple weeks has went by and you haven't been outdoors. I will say this, for me, I got to work next Saturday.
Okay.
In the evening. It's at my regular job, so I won't be going anywhere out of town or anything. And then the following weekend, I got to work as well. 4th of July weekend and 4th of July. Yeah, we got the fireworks, the big extravaganza that we're covering.
Big party.
So yeah, it's going to be few and far between. So we need to line up some people here. Get them on.
We are. We're working on it, getting them in the show. Hopefully things will start rolling in July.
That's good. That's good. So, quick shout out to Ken Cicluna, who was out. He was out fishing. I noticed he was throwing frogs.
I can't get the answer to that on Apple Watch.
Well, my watch wants to talk to me.
Charles Barham says y'all had mentioned rain. It's now just started raining in Iowa.
Okay, keep it out there. Do not let it come east.
Right.
Whatever you do. But no, Ken was out. He was out fishing, throwing frogs.
Yeah, he was. He was out there throwing frogs. See, he caught one.
Yep.
He was pre-fishing, it looked like.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
So.
And I also noticed, speaking of Charles, Charles and Ken kind of got the fishing talk going on our page.
Know,
that's cool. So, you know, Charles, I didn't know that. I didn't know you were that big into fishing. So I'm glad that we got Ken on board, and now we got somebody that can fill that avenue for you as well. That's good.
Sure, Terry. You can post your Planet Fitness when you're in there.
Who's that, Terry?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, put them on our page. Like I said, let's get this thing going.
And Planet Fitness is some people have complaints about them and everything. We've had no complaints, and for $10 a month,
I like it. You know, and we're not sponsored by them. We're not pushing them in any way, shape, or form. But the fact is, it works out for Danny and I because it's just simply you go in and people are friendly. And actually, what's kind of been cool is here in the last couple of weeks, people have finally started coming up. And I think it's because we wear all our. I'll wear a logo shirt.
Oh, that's funny.
Or I wear my camo sweatpants to work out in, or a camo hat or whatever. And like the guy come up, he's like, you guys bow hunt?
Yeah.
And another guy, same thing. Hey, how's you guys' season? And they hear Danny and I sitting talking while we're working out, so people are picking up on it. Before you know it, we're going to turn that place into a camo factory.
I know, right? I'm all right with that.
So, no, but it's been a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. So, any other questions, Dan?
Nope, that's it.
All right, guys, gals, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Y'all take care, and if you do get to the gym or you're working out in your home, post a picture, throw it on our page, and we'll encourage one another. So
Absolutely.
y'all take care. We'll be back again next week.